What's up, Archons? I'm Flightless Pheasant, and today we got a clarification to the TRG. Apparently that's different than an update. So it means that the things they added will go into effect immediately and not 2 weeks out. I don't know. It's strange, but we're going to roll past that, and we're going to look at what the update actually does. Now, I've looked at this update. In fact, I had a glitch, and I had to re-record, so I've already done my whole rant on it, but I'm going to do it again because I want to talk about this. So let's take a look at what got changed. As we know, red text indicates changes. So let's scroll down and find us our red text. Here we go. So this is in the Alliance deck construction rules. If an Alliance deck is constructed from a set that uses prophecy cards, it must include all prophecy cards from an Archon deck that contributed at least one house pod to the Alliance deck. Decks constructed from other sets cannot include prophecy cards. This makes sense, right? Got to use prophecies that came from a deck you used in the Alliance construction. That seems reasonable because it's Alliance. That's how it works. My problem comes in when we go down to sealed. Let's go down to sealed and take a look. Alright, if a sealed deck is constructed from a set using prophecy cards, it must include all prophecy cards from an Archon deck that contributed at least one house pod to the sealed deck. Decks constructed from other sets cannot include prophecy cards. Why do I have to use both of the prophecy cards from an Archon deck that contributed at least one house pod? Why? Like, if I just okay, as an example, and I reread the section on tokens. It says if a sealed deck is constructed from Winds of Exchange or Tokens of Change, it must include exactly one token creature reference card from an Archon deck that contributed at least one house pod to the sealed deck. My understanding, and what I thought was the case when we did Winds of Exchange sealed, which we only did like once ever, but my understanding was what that meant was when I build my sealed alliance of decks that include a token, I can take any of the 3 tokens that I was given, even if I don't pull any cards at all from the Archon deck that token was part of. That I can take any of the 3 tokens I want, no limit. That it doesn't have to match any of the pods. Now, it probably will, because there's a connection between the token that you get and the cards in your deck, right? In fact, some tokens are even linked, like there's a connection there. My understanding from reading this, and I could be wrong, and if it's unclear and I'm reading it wrong, please tell me, but my understanding from this is that if I take all 3 of my pods from one deck out of the 3 decks that I'm given at a sealed event, then I must also take both of the prophecies from that deck. And that does not feel good to me, because I don't believe, from what I've seen of prophetic visions, that there's a link between which prophecies you get and the cards in your deck. Right? Those 2 things don't seem to have a relationship in this set. Which means there's no good reason that I need to take the prophecies from a deck that contributed pods in a sealed environment, because I only have 6 prophecies to choose from anyway. It's not like I can grab any prophecies anywhere out in the world and get the perfect whammo-bammo combo. No, I only have these 6. That's it. And if I want to take the 2 from a deck that I didn't use for anything else, because they're the 2 that I think I can set off the most reliably, why shouldn't I be able to do that? Furthermore, and this is just my opinion, why shouldn't I be able to pick any 2 of the 6 prophecies I've been given, regardless of whether or not they even came from the same deck? Now, I hear you out there saying, oh, well, you could end up with 2 copies of the same prophecy effect. And why does that matter? Like, I understand that would allow me to put out both prophecies, but here's the thing. Either my opponent can play around the prophecy, in which case having 2 versions of the same prophecy doesn't change that. It's still the exact same amount of effort to play around. Or they can't, in which case, most likely, I won't even get both of them out at the same time, because you can't play around it anyway. And I can only put out 1 a turn, so it would take me 2 turns to get them both out. Like, I just don't see it as being that big a problem. And even if somehow I managed to get 2 exact copies of the same prophecy down, and my opponent had to activate both of them at the same time, wouldn't the active player rule still basically say they get to pick the least damaging version of that combination of 2 fate effects? So, like, what are we even afraid of here? What's the concern that I'm going to do that would cause a problem, right? I'm not even aware of any fate effects that would be, like, terrifyingly, incredibly, mind-bendingly potent if combined. Especially not if I, as the person they're going to be affecting, can choose the order they go off in. Like, we can already have 2 prophecies go off in the same turn. Granted, they're not likely to go off at the same time, but they certainly could. I mean, Ask Again Later and Trust Your Feelings have the exact same timing window, right? And so do all of the ones that say when your opponent ends their turn with X amber. So it's already possible to have 2 prophecies go off at the same time anyway. So, like, why is it an issue that I get to pick any 2 out of the 6 prophecies I'm given to use in my sealed deck? I don't know. This whole set feels like sealed was an afterthought. And I think part of that is reflected in the TRG update. I really don't think they thought about the sealed environment for this set. I don't think they thought about what that would look like, what kind of experience players would have with it. Like, it just feels bad. Now, if there's information I don't have, please let me know. Because all I have is the TRG update and the cards that I've looked at in my grubby little mitts, right? So, if there's more to the story, tell me the rest. I want to hear it. But right now, I'm unhappy with this approach to dealing with prophecies in sealed. I'm unhappy. I want more clarification. If this means I can pull 2 prophecies from the same deck, even if I don't use any of the pods of that deck in my final sealed deck, then I guess I'll accept that and move on. Though I still would argue that it's not unreasonable for me to be able to grab any 2 out of the 6 available to me. But I don't think that's the case because I read the recalibration rules. And the recalibrations rules say if a sealed deck is constructed from a set with prophecy cards, the player may also substitute the chosen prophecy cards with other prophecy cards from the Archon decks they opened at the beginning of the tournament, provided that the newly chosen prophecy cards came from a deck that also contributed at least 1 pod to the sealed deck. Why is that limitation there? What are we trying to prevent? Prophecies and the cards in the deck don't build on each other. Like, it's not like if I get a certain fate effect in my deck, I'm therefore going to get a certain prophecy that goes with it. As far as I know. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am, based on what I've seen. So what does it matter if I pull 2 prophecies that aren't from any of the same decks as the pods I'm using in sealed? I don't see the logic, and it's frustrating to me, and it seems like an unreasonable limitation on a format that's already got several significant limitations and that is already going to struggle to be enjoyable. Like, let's be honest, Prophetic Vision Sealed is going to struggle to be fun already. You really don't need to put extra limitations that don't need to be there. I don't think. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Maybe I'm too hot and it's not any big deal, but put your thoughts down below. Tell me if there's anything I don't know or that I'm not aware of or that I'm not paying attention to that informs this and makes this more clear. I don't know. I don't like it. I think it's dumb. I want them to change it. Change it. I don't like it. At the very least, let me choose any pair of prophecies that were given together, regardless of whether or not I used a pod from that deck. I don't see why you can't do that, but maybe there's something I don't know, because that happens. I don't know things. I'm wrong sometimes, but put your thoughts down below. That's all I have for you today. So until next time, later, Archons.